Coming up on this episode of 101 Sports, Lane Kiffin is out at USC, and Tom Coughlin may soon be joining him on the unemployment circuit.
And we dive deep into the MLB playoffs to give you complete analysis and predictions from all of our experts.
All that and so much more, and it all starts right now.
Hello and welcome to another edition of 101 Sports. I'm Jake Soder.
And I'm Ryan Ballack. The government may be shut down, but the sports world never rests. So let's get things going with the starting five.
And the rich continue to get richer. Reports have surfaced that the NFL is urgently discussing a plan that would expand the playoffs from 12 to 14 teams in the very near future. Ryan, do you like this plan, or the NFL being too greedy?
No, I don't like this plan. And the NFL is absolutely being too greedy. I mean, I think 12 teams is plenty in the NFL. And when you put in 14, that's pretty much having half the teams in the playoffs, which is what they have in the NBA and the NHL. And that's when you get matchups like the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Miami Heat. Nobody wants to watch the Milwaukee Bucks get destroyed by the Miami Heat.
Yeah.
You should just keep it the way it is.
Every time they expand the playoff system in any sport, it just makes the regular season matter less and less.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's not okay. It's really not. We were talking about it before. Offset. The NFL playoffs is the one sport where people don't really complain about the length of it.
That's true.
The excitement of the games. And when you expand, you take away from all that. And it's definitely not okay. And they're obviously doing it for the money. It makes them greedy.
And the MLB may have done it right with the expansion of the additional wild card game, which has become a very exciting thing.
Very
the
exciting.
NFL, I don't think they need to change anything.
I totally agree.
The NFL's attempt to have a presence in London continued in Week 4 as the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Minnesota Vikings played in yet another installment of terrible teams to show off America's beloved sport to those crazy soccer hooligans across the pond. Jake, should the NFL give up the effort of playing in the UK?
No, I don't think so, because the UK people in the UK love it. They've
They
grown
do.
to absolutely love American football. So sending two teams one or two times every season is not a big deal.
But the bad
They love it
teams?
over there. Creating a team there permanently, not okay in my book. That's a different story, but playing one game or two games there every year in the season, I'm okay with it.
But like, if they are going to start sending more competitive games over there, I mean, obviously you don't want to see two defeated teams go and play.
Right.
But when you send these more, I mean, it takes away a home game. I don't know if teams are going to like that very much. I mean, I certainly wouldn't.
No, it's a good point. I mean, teams, especially teams like the Steelers, rely on their home games.
Absolutely.
Because their home field advantage is so great. So the fact that they do take away a home game from them,
It's a big factor.
It's definitely a big factor in it. But I, as of now, I'm okay with them sending teams over there. It's fine with me. After a rocky start and weeks of turmoil for the USC Trojans football program, Lane Kiffin has finally gotten the boot. After a 3-2 start that included 2 straight losses, conference losses, to Washington State and Arizona State, Kiffin was informed that he was no longer the head coach of the Trojans. Kiffin's final record with USC was 28-15, but the slow start to the season made him 4-7 in his last 11 games. USC is a program that's tasted great success in the past, but has not looked like the Trojans of old in recent years. So Ryan, what will it take for USC to get back to where they were?
I mean, it's about time Lane Kiffin got fired.
It is about time.
4-7 in your last 11 games at USC?
Yep.
That's unheard. I would never think that happening in the next.
I'm surprised he didn't get fired
2
sooner.
years ago. Oh, absolutely. I'm right with you. But they need to get a big face. They need someone who's going to attract recruits. USC itself, just the name, being a USC Trojan, is a big pull. But if you get a guy just like what Ohio State did with Urban Meyer, they just take recruits, they just pick and choose from other teams of players who've already committed. That's what USC needs.
And honestly, I don't think they're too far away. They're only one good
What were
coach
they,
away.
number 1 in the country going into last season?
Yeah, so they're only one good coach away, one good recruiting coach away from being able to be back on top. It's a very desirable place to be, whether you're a coach, whether you're a recruit. So they're only one good hire away, I think. And it could take somebody drawing them away from a school that they're at right now that has had success. Somebody like
Maybe
we were talking
an ACC
about,
guy.
Dabo Sweeney would be a great guy to do it. Somebody young like that would be a great person for them to hire.
Absolutely. 22 years later, Major League Baseball Commissioner Bud Selig has officially decided to toss in the towel and resign following the 2014 season. A lot has happened during Selig's tenure as commissioner, including steroids, all-star game controversies, and a league-wide work stoppage. However, not everything Selig has done has been frowned upon, as Selig has made big strides in the replay department. Jake, what will you best remember Selig by?
Well, unfortunately, it's going to be the steroids because that's the black eye on the whole era that he was a part of. But I would like to remember him for the good that he did for the game because there was a lot of it. He made the game very, very popular in the media and stuff like that. Not necessarily not as popular as it used to be, but he's integrating the game in ways that make it relevant still. And baseball is such a slow game that it's hard to
It is
make it
hard.
relevant in an era where we're
fast-
so attracted
such
to
a fast-moving
fast-paced sports.
time, yeah.
So the addition of replay is a huge thing, is a huge part of his legacy, I would think. And the All-Star game, it's not where it used to be, but it's still now it matters for something. So
That's
he
true.
did that too.
But the All-Star game, that's really a big thing for me. The big blemish was 2002. There was a tie in
Yep.
the All-Star game, and the solution to the tie was just every year after, let's just make it the winner gets home field of the World Series.
I mean, at least it means something though now.
Why?
I don't know,
It's an
but
All-Star game. Who cares? It shouldn't mean anything. That's stupid.
I agree with you. I do.
I hope you do.
He did do a lot of good for the game.
He
though.
did. He did.
The only thing is the steroid era was what he'll
That's gonna
always
be a
be
big-
remembered as.
yep.
That's a shame. After yet another embarrassing loss this past weekend, the New York Football Giants dropped to a paltry 0-4 to start the season. This time, the loss came with the merciless hands of former NFC East nemesis Andy Reid and his Kansas City Chiefs. As a result, Giants head coach Tom Coughlin finds himself yet again amidst speculation that the hot seat may have his name on it. But defensive end Justin Tuck will not tolerate any of his teammates questioning their leader, saying if anyone speaks out against Coughlin, Tuck would, in his own words, be the first to punch him in the mouth. Ryan, do you like Tuck defending his coach, or is he going too far, and is Coughlin on the hot seat?
I absolutely love Justin Tuck defending his coach. I mean, this is Tom Coughlin, man. He's won 2 Super Bowls in the last 6 years. He's not a guy who deserves to be on the hot seat. Yes, the first 4 games has been rough, but the Giants have absolutely no offensive line. Eli Manning's just getting killed back there. The Broncos game, the Broncos are unstoppable. The Chiefs are undefeated right now. Cowboys game was a shootout, and they're not. The Panthers game was bad. They're not that bad, and they're only 2 games back of first place after all this mess. Tom Coughlin, I think, is okay for now.
And I think he is okay because he's so well-liked in New York. But when the questions keep getting asked year after year, is he on the hot seat, is he on the hot seat, is he on the hot seat, sometimes it may just be time for a change. You're 0-4. They have enough talent on their team.
It's been a while
They
since
should
he's been
have
on the
won
hot
2 games by now. They have enough
That's
talent
true.
to do that. And they're 0-4 in a division where, lucky for them,
They can take advantage,
They can
though.
take advantage of that. But when you start asking the questions every year, is he on the hot seat, sooner or later, he's going to be gone.
Yep, that's true.
So we have to take our first break, but coming up, Tim Kraus joins me at the desk as we break down the American League MLB playoffs. Stay tuned.
Now it's time for This Week in Bad Stats.
Bad stats?
Horrible stats. Here goes. 260.
That's how many runs were walked in with the bases loaded last season.
Wow, very good. Here's a tough one, though. 3 and 4.
No idea.
That's the number of kids who witness bullying. 3 out of 4.
Not a good stat.
No, it's not, but that can change. Kids want to help, but they don't know how. You can visit stopbullying.gov and give them the tools they need to help prevent bullying.
There are plenty of safe ways kids can help at stopbullying.gov.
It's no fairy tale that the right fit means everything, especially when it comes to car seats. Always choose one that's the right fit for your child's age and size.
That does make a difference.
To find out more, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat.
Welcome back to 101 Sports. I'm joined now by Tim Kraus to break down each matchup in the American League playoffs and determine who will be moving on to each round. So, Tim, let's start with the game going on tomorrow night, the American League wildcard game. Tampa Bay Rays at Cleveland Indians. Who wins that game and why?
I like the Rays to advance in this matchup, and the Rays and Indians have offenses that are very similar in statistical categories, but the Indians have a much harder lineup entering the game. That being said, I think the Rays have the advantage on the mound. I think Alex Cobb will go deeper into this ballgame than Danny Salazar. Cobb has a 2.41 ERA and 9 starts in the second half. Also, unlike Salazar, Cobb has made it to the 6th inning in all but 2 of his starts this season. For the Indians to win this game, they need a couple of scoreless innings out of the gate. Salazar has a 4.5 ERA in his first inning and a 5.4 ERA in the second inning. I think the Rays will get off to a hard start just like they did against Texas, and I think they ultimately win the game.
Well, yeah, I think it's a great pick. I think the Rays are incredibly difficult to beat in a one-game setting. Joe Maddon's one of the kind of coaches that'll do anything to win in that one
Absolutely.
game and manufacture runs. Let's move on to the first ALDS matchup. we have Tigers and A's. Who do you got in that matchup?
I think this is a chance to be a closer matchup than many people think. The A's have a solid lineup led by Josh Donaldson, who's having a career season, and they have good starting pitching and a deep bullpen. But I like the Tigers in the series simply because they have better pitching and a better offense. Detroit's team on-base percentage is .346, second in all of baseball, and their team slugging is .434, second in all of baseball. But their starting pitching is what's going to win them this series. Their four-man rotation will feature Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, who's allowed 2 runs or fewer in 20 starts this season, and Anibal Sanchez, who leads the AL in ERA and home runs per 9. And then they end with Doug Fister. That's simply going to be too much for the A's to handle. I like the Tigers to win in 4.
I think you're right. I think the Tigers lineup, everybody talks so much about how much power is in that lineup, but their starting pitching is just so good. It's going to be incredible, and I think they have a good shot of actually sweeping the A's. So let's move on. Let's move on to the next ALDS matchup. You had the Rays beating the Indians, which would set up a matchup between AL East rivals, the Red Sox and the Rays. So if that matchup happens, who do you have winning?
I like the Boston Red Sox to advance from this matchup. Everyone talks about how good Tampa Bay's rotation is and how it's built for playoff success, but is it really? Yes, Price and Cobb have had great years and Matt Moore's ERA is low, but Moore still walks 4.5 batters a game. And Jeremy Hellickson, their 4th starter, his Ks per 9 and home runs per 9 totals are nowhere where they need to be. That's a little dicey, their rotation. The Red Sox already have the highest OPS in all of baseball. The Rays cannot afford to help them out anymore. The Red Sox have also had a lot of success against the Tampa Bay Rays in the regular season, winning 12 of their 19 games. I like the Red Sox to win it in 4.
I sure hope you're right. That'd be great to see, but you're also right. The Red Sox have pretty much dominated the Rays this year, but that would be a great matchup. We'd love to see a little rivalry action going on.
Absolutely.
So assuming that these picks happen, we move on to the ALCS. We have the Red Sox facing the Tigers, 2 of the better, if not 2 of the best teams in the American League throughout the course of the season. So who do you have winning that matchup?
I think this matchup has the potential to be the best series in the postseason. The Red Sox and Tigers are both teams that don't seem to have a true weakness. I already talked about the Tigers' great pitching, but if any offense can neutralize their pitching, it's the Boston Red Sox. The Red Sox lead all of baseball with an on-base percentage of .349 and a slugging percentage of .446. That slugging is 12 points higher than the mighty Tigers. The Red Sox offense scored 853 runs in the regular season, with no other team in baseball reaching 800. These stats tell me that the Red Sox players get on base and come around to score effectively. Both closers in the series, Kojei Uehara and Joaquin Benoit, have had great seasons, but I like the Red Sox ability to bridge the gap from between the starter and the closer more than the Tigers. Red Sox setup man Craig Breslow has had a 0.57 ERA in his last 32 appearances. The Red Sox are also a better defensive team, especially up the middle and in center field and right field. This ALCS matchup has all the makings of a classic, but I think the Red Sox will win it in 7 games and represent the American League in the World Series.
Well, you heard it here first, guys. Tim Krause has the Beards from Boston moving on to the World Series. Right now, let's throw it over to Ryan, who's over at Latham Park with Joe DiRienzo and Connor Del Prete. Guys?
Thanks, Jake. I'm now joined by 2 more of our MLB experts, Connor Del Prete and Joe DiRienzo, to take a closer look at Tim's ALCS predictions and take a look at some difference makers for both the Tigers and the Red Sox if both of them were to make it to this ALCS. Now, Connor, let's start with you. Who's the difference maker for the Tigers in this series?
I'm going to go with Anibal Sanchez, the pitcher from the Detroit Tigers, obviously. When you're on a team with Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer, who's having a fantastic year, he's going to get overshadowed, and he has been. But he has sneakily put on one of the best pitching seasons in the AL this year. He has the lowest ERA, and in the past 14 starts...
And nobody's heard about this.
Yeah, no one's heard about it. I think if he hadn't been injured for a month, he could have been in the running for Cy Young. I mean, in the last 14 starts, he's only given up 2 or fewer runs 11 times. In that span, he's 9-3. And there are questions coming in the beginning of the year whether he could prove to be worth the $80 million contract he signed for 5 years. And so far, he's proving it. And I think if he performs the way that he should, that Detroit rotation is going to be scary.
So Connor going with the Game 3 starter for the Tigers as his difference maker. Joe, who is the difference maker for the Red Sox in
For
this
the Red
series?
Sox, it's also their Game 3 starter in this one. It's Clay Buchholz, a guy who they had only for 16 starts this season, but in those 16 starts, 13-1, 1.74 ERA. Batters hit 199 against him this year. Absolutely insane. And the best stat on Clay Buchholz this year, the league average for allowing extra base hits is 7.7% of hits. Clay Buchholz, 4%.
Wow.
Guy, even when he gets hit, doesn't get hit far. And if he's on for the Red Sox as their 3rd guy, how are they going to lose?
Now, Game 3, I guess, is going to be the difference maker in the series. Because if these 2 guys go off each other in Game 3,
Absolutely.
going to be something awesome to watch.
Absolutely.
Jake, back to you in the studio.
We're back here in the studio, and now it's Ben Greenberg who joins me as we break down the National League side of things. So, Ben, I'm going to do the same thing with you as I did with Tim before. Let's start with the wild card game going on tonight. Pittsburgh Pirates taking on the Cincinnati Reds. Who wins that matchup and why?
You know what? These one-game wild cards, although very fun, are almost a toss-up. So you have to go on raw emotion and pure emotion in that same sense. Look, the Pittsburgh Pirates, I love what they've done this year. And I think they will win this game just because the Reds, who have struggled recently, losing their last 5 games of the season, now have to come into a revved up ballpark over there in Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh takes their great season into the ALDS.
And it would kind of be a shame if all this time the Pittsburgh Pirates had such a great season, the first winning one in 21 years, and they go out and lose it tonight. So I think you're right. I think the Pittsburgh Pirates have to win this game tonight. It's going to be rocking over there at PNC.
Totally.
If they win this game, they will then go on to play the St. Louis Cardinals in a best-of-5 in the LDS. So if that happens, who wins that matchup and why?
You know what? The Pirates are a great team. I think Andrew McCutcheon's having a magical year, but I think their year is next year. They run into the wrong team here. The St. Louis Cardinals are just too good, and they're too well built for the postseason, Jake. I mean, this team, first of all, they're 27th in the league in home runs, yet they lead the league of playoff teams in batting average for the National League. Exactly. I mean, the team is so good at manufacturing runs when they need it. They get the big hit when they need it. That's what it takes to win a short series.
And Mike Matheny's done a great job with that team, and they do know how to win in the postseason, so I love that pick.
Absolutely.
Let's move on to the other ALDS series. We got the LA Dodgers taking on the Atlanta Braves. Who wins that series?
You know what? I really can't see the Braves winning this series. It's sort of sad in a way because they've had a great year.
Yeah.
But, they stumbled down the second half of the season a little bit. They were red hot at first, obviously. They were the best team for a while. Now they have to play the Dodgers, who have had the opposite kind of season. They struggled at first, but then were amazing down the stretch. So I think the LA Dodgers, with the top of the rotation being Kershaw and Greinke, those two guys in a short series, I mean, I think the Braves rely too heavily on the home run to beat those two pitchers. The ball's not leaving the park.
Yeah, you're right, and you said it. The Dodgers pitching staff is just so good that even a lineup as power-packed as the Atlanta Braves lineup is going to have a tough time beating them. So I like the Dodgers over the Braves as well. Now moving on to the NLCS, assuming these matchups play out the way you say, we have the LA Dodgers playing the St. Louis Cardinals. So who wins that matchup and moves on to the World Series this year?
The St. Louis Cardinals I picked last year to win the World Series. They came up a game short, and I think that frustration from last year has carried over to this season. They played such a great year. They're built for this. You said it with Mike Matheny. He's such a good coach. He has his guys on the same page where when they come to the postseason, it's not any kind of circus. They don't draw any kind of spotlights like the LA Dodgers have. They don't have a Yasiel Puig, but they do have guys who play the game right. Yadier Molina, for example, the backbone of your team, the guy who, when the game's on the line, you want him in the batter's box. And I think the Cardinals have that intangible edge over a very talented team like Los Angeles.
Well, the Cardinals are always a team that go throughout the entire year, hardly getting noticed, and they are always there right at the end. So the Cardinals, man, how can you pick against them in the postseason? You just can't.
They're subtly the best team in the National League, and it sounds strange because they almost get too little credit for what they put on the field.
Absolutely. You heard it here first. Let's throw it over once more to Ryan, Joe, and Connor over at Latham Park.
Thanks, Jake. Back here at Latham Park with Connor and Joe. We looked at the American League difference makers. Now let's take a look at Ben's NLCS predictions. Dodgers, Cardinals. Who's your difference maker?
For the Dodgers, it's the guy who came in halfway through the year and lit everybody up. It's Yasiel Puig. The guy is the firecracker of this team, and it's his decision-making that really is going to make the difference in this one, whether it's that throw from right field, skipping the cutoff man, trying to get the guy at third. Works sometimes, but not all the time. He has to know when to do it and when to hold back. And it's the base running. The guy is one of the most aggressive base runners in all of baseball. In a full season, people average getting 11 extra bases, like going first to third or second at home on singles. Puig's already done it. The league average number of times, 11 in his half season.
Well, Puig will definitely be somebody that we have to take a close eye at. As long as he can keep that attitude in check, that is going to be big. Now, for the Cardinals, Connor, who's your difference maker for the series?
I'm going to go with Matt Adams, the first baseman from the Cards. I mean, with Craig injured, he's replacing him, and Craig was batting .454 with runners in scoring position, which is ridiculous. But Adams, I think he's a more than ready replacement for him. I mean, this year, replacing him, he's bat .338, 8 homers, 15 RBIs, just for a little preview of what fans are going to see. And, I mean, last night he scored 2 runs and he had a hit, so he's already making a big
yeah.
presence for this team. And if he plays well, it's just going to add yet another good bat to that already stacked lineup who destroyed the Pirates last night.
I absolutely
9-1.
think if the Cardinals continue to advance, Carlos Beltran, the man of the man in postseason play, is definitely going to be a difference maker for the Cardinals. But Jake, now let's send it back to you in the studio for some World Series predictions from our 4 MLB experts.
We're back one more time here in the studio, and this time I'm joined by all of our baseball experts to just debate one final question. When it's all said and done, who will be the winner of this year's Fall Classic? So let's go down the line really quick. Ben, we'll start with you. Who wins the Fall Classic this year?
I'm going to go with the team that has the best record in the National League right now, and in addition is 27th out of 30 teams in home runs, scoring without the long ball. That's how you win in the postseason.
And that would be the St. Louis Cardinals.
St.
There
Louis
you go.
Cardinals, of course.
I'm going to go with my AL pick, the Boston Red Sox. They do not have a true weakness. They're the best offense in baseball. They're the most balanced team in baseball, and they have the deepest bench in baseball.
Guys, these are nice picks, but there's only one right answer. It's the Detroit Tigers. I mean, their 5 starting pitchers are making MLB history with most strikeouts per 9 innings with 8.6. And then you have Max Scherzer with 21 wins, and he doesn't even have the lowest ERA on the team. Anibal Sanchez has come in and put in a great year. I haven't got started talking about Miguel Cabrera, so it's the Detroit Tigers.
The Tigers are on fire, and on paper they're terrifying, but the St. Louis Cardinals are the best put-together team in baseball, which is why no one talks about them, and they've got guys that 5 batters over 295 average. Pitchers had the best ERA in September in all of baseball. They come into the league or into the playoffs with momentum. They're a team that nobody talks about because of just how good they are. They're not flashy. They're not anything. They just win.
Well, we have a little bit of majority here going with the St. Louis Cardinals.
2
I'm going to even
against
things
1
out a
against
little
1?
bit. Go with my Boston Red Sox to win the entire thing. Just to balance it out a little bit, we're going to revisit these picks too, see who's right, see who's wrong in a little bit. We got to take another short break, but when we return, Ryan will sit down with Matt Dowdle to answer some very important NFL questions from the fans. Stay tuned.
It's no fairy tale that the right fit means everything, especially when it comes to car seats. Always choose one that's the right fit for your child's age and size.
That does make a difference.
To find out more, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat.
Don't look at me. Your hair's a bit frizzy today. Aww. You should pick that up.
Every day, kids witness bullying.
For you.
They want to help, but don't know how. Teach your kids how to be more than a bystander. Visit stopbullying.gov.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Welcome back to One-on-One Sports, where I'm joined by our NFL expert, Matt Dowdle, to field some questions from the fans regarding the season thus far. Our fans ask questions via our Facebook and Twitter page, and here is our first question. We go to Facebook, and Russell Varner has a question for you, Matt.
Alrighty.
What is with the rise of the quote-unquote everything is because of the QB mentality? Whatever happened to other players on the field mattering in the final score?
Okay, well, Russell, let's make this perfectly clear. The NFL has always been a quarterback-driven league. That hasn't changed. Now, the things that have changed are people have learned, hey, passing the ball gets a lot more yards. We have a lot of very fast, a lot of very big targets out there. Let's give them the ball. It's a lot harder to cover 4 to 5 guys running and spreading themselves over the field than one man getting handed off the ball the entire time. That's just pure fact.
Absolutely. And the rules, I mean, new rules with hitting on defensively, I mean, they've definitely favored the quarterback as well.
Yeah.
So it definitely has become a more quarterback-essential
You touch the quarterback, you touch him, it's a penalty. You touch a receiver before he has the ball for 14 and a half seconds, it's a penalty. And the NFL's catering to it, and it's exciting.
And you think it's fair that teams can place that, or fans can place that blame on a quarterback?
I mean, yes. If you're going to get the ball every snap of the game, then yes, the quarterback does deserve a fair share of the blame. They'll get all the credit. They're going to get the blame. You can't change that, and I can't really argue against it.
All right, well, let's head to Facebook again for question number 2 from Danny Sanford. Danny asks, without a team above 500, will the NFC East crown only the second division champ ever to win a division with a losing record? Remember, Seattle in 2011 is the only current one to do so. What do you think?
No, I can't. No, that's not going to happen.
No?
No. Dallas is already 2-2, and the division is terrible. The division is god awful, and Dallas
They
still
have to
has
play each other though too.
Exactly. So that means you're going to get a lot of crappy games, but I think Dallas will come out on top at least 4 to 5 of those. If they, I'm not saying they're going to beat the entire division, go sweep through it, but if they win 4 out of their next 5 games against them, that already puts them at 6-3. They already have to play teams like the Raiders and the Vikings. Dallas should be able to pull a few games, and then that ignores the tough games, which I do think they can pull out 1 or 2. So no, I don't think we're going to see someone go and win the division at 7-9. As ridiculous as that idea is, it's not going to happen.
So how many wins for Dallas do you think?
I'm going to put them right at 9-7. That's why I said before the season started, I think I'm going to stick right there with it. They will finish 9-7, and the rest of the division will just be a terrible thing that no one has any business wanting to watch.
All right, so Dallas just squeaks by that mark. All right, let's head to Twitter now for our last question. It comes from Stephen Pavlov, who asked, 101 Sports, who is at fault for the Buccaneers' horrendous start? Is it Greg Schiano or quarterback Josh Freeman?
Well, everyone is responsible for that. I mean, that is a fiasco. I mean, personally, I thought when Revis was coming in, this whole year was going to be fixed a little bit.
Secondary
but no.
looked good.
Yeah, I thought it'd be great.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be great. That's our one biggest problem. But no, it's on both, but predominantly it's on Freeman. Since when they came in last year, Schiano had his first year and they won 6 out of the first 10 games, and then they dropped 5 of the final 6. If you look numbers-wise, Freeman's numbers plummeted, and you can point that on coaching.
And Doug Martin's numbers went up. That also.
Doug Martin's numbers went up, and then actually toward the end of the season they went down. And at the start of this season they're down. He's averaging under 4 yards a carry. Why? Because Freeman's play has not been great. So moral of the story. If it was on the coaching, Freeman would have plummeted all of last year. He wouldn't have done that great from the beginning. But people started figuring out how he can get to him, and he started to struggle. Again, Schiano has a good game plan. He knows how to coach, a football team. This is on Freeman. Now, again, if they start losing out from here and they keep losing games, then that is, of course, going to fall on Schiano. But as of now, Freeman is the one to blame. They need to get him traded. Odds are unlikely because of the substance abuse issue, the high amount of, the cost of it. But this is on Freeman currently.
Do you think if this continues, we see Schiano go just like Freeman has just gone?
Yes. If they wind up losing this division, Lord knows go 0-16, yes, Schiano's gone.
All right, well, we will have to keep a close watch on the Buccaneers. And a big thank you to all the fans who asked those questions this week. And make sure to stay glued to your television, as next up, Jake and I will discuss the greatest comeback in sports history after Team Oracle USA pulled off a miracle in the recent America's Cup.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
We have seen some incredible comebacks in our lifetime, and Oracle Team USA added to that list with a remarkable comeback over Emirates Team New Zealand, overcoming an 8-1 deficit to win 9-8, claiming the 34th America's Cup. Jake, now let's disregard sailing, please.
Okay.
And tell me your favorite comeback story.
Well, this is going to be a really short debate because you're just going to agree with me and we're going to move on.
A favorite story, Jake, not who's better. Just tell me what you like.
The answer is the 04 Sox
Your
comeback
answer
against the
is the
Yankees.
04
No,
Sox.
it's the answer.
what a
In the ALCS, down to their last 3 outs, down in the series 3-0, they come back and they win the entire thing. I don't know if you remember that.
I do. I listened to the game on the radio.
I remember it quite well.
I do. No,
so
it was
that
amazing.
is the greatest comeback in sports history. Debate over. Let's move on. End of show. But I think you have an answer.
My favorite story, personally, it's called the Monday Night Miracle. Back in 2000, the Jets playing the Miami Dolphins on a cold Monday night in October. Jets are down 30-7 going into the fourth quarter. Arnold Schwarzenegger goes up to the booth during halftime, says Wayne Corbett's going to score, and the Jets are going to win. Wayne Corbett scores in the fourth quarter. Vinny Testaverde throws to the offensive tackle, Jumbo Elliott. Game is tied at 37. John Hall for 3. Good night. Good night. Let's go home.
Yeah, good night, because I'm about to fall asleep, because that was the most boring.
Unfortunately, that is all the
story
time
ever.
we have for this episode of One-on-One Sports. But if you missed out on any of the show or want to watch it again, you can check out our YouTube page at youtube.com/1on1sports.
And be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at 101 Sports.
From all the producers and crew in the studio, thank you for watching. And until next time,
whose side are you on?